The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
How's it going, everybody? It is the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. We are back. It's just a formality at this point. We have only 3 games left until the moment we've all been waiting for, that you and I have been discussing since April of last year officially begins.
The real season of podcast season starts.
Yes. The real
Game 1.
Yes. Everybody's fired up. Everybody's ready to go. The game that I have circled on the calendar that's still remaining is Tuesday, April 11th in Tampa. And the only reason why I say that is because I anticipate that they might rest a few guys during that game, but I still think the Lightning are going to be looking to send a message in that game. They're going to be running around trying to get in the Leafs' head. The mental warfare will officially begin.
I disagree. I think both teams are going to just mail it in on their lineup choices as much as possible.
See, I think the Leafs are going to do that. I don't think Tampa's going to do that.
I think both teams are going to sit both their top goalies, I think. Well, it depends who the backup is with the Leafs, but but Vasilevskiy's already not playing. Like Brian Elliott, I'm pretty sure has played the last 2 games for the Lightning. I just see them both teams playing coy that game, and whatever happens, happens.
Well, I have no idea what the Leafs are going to do because the salary cap gymnastics officially began on Saturday with the sending down of Joseph Woll and the utilization of Jett Alexander, one of the great sports names I've ever heard, as the EBUG. So the Leafs can begin to shift things around in order for what is, in my opinion, the most hyped prospect in franchise history to potentially make his team debut over these next 3 games. I'm sure at some point, either later on tonight or tomorrow, we'll get some sort of notification that Matthew Knies has officially joined the team. We're not going to sit here and go through it all. There's tons of articles online about it that you can find. It's really
so confusing.
It is really, really convoluted what they're trying to do.
I'm way too stupid to understand it.
But again, speaks to the great work that Brandon Pridham and his team do in terms of manipulating the salary cap. And it really does look like we're going to get a look at Matthew Knies here in I guess, with 2 of these final 3 games.
Who's getting their absolute heart ripped out in that bottom 6? Who's just getting crushed?
Zach Aston Reese?
Guy's played unbelievable since the deadline.
Yeah, he's
unbelievable, but he's like, that line has been pretty good. He's been pretty good since the deadline. Like whose heart is just getting ripped out and gut punched to let some kid who may or may not be good at hockey.
Well, you could
into
also
the lineup.
You could also pull like an Achari out and say, "Hey, you're banged up."
No, I'm talking about game 1. I don't give a shit about the regular season.
See, I think there's no guarantee that Knies is in game 1. I think the rush to get him here,
in game 1.
You think he's in game
100%. He's the most hyped prospect in Leaf history. He's on the first line in some people's eyes. Like he's going to be in the lineup. Like,
but wouldn't you think that they would want to?
Why would they sign Matthew Knies to come in here for the regular season to be in the press box? That makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. But don't you think they want to get him in like in these final 3 regular season games, or at least 2 of them,
Absolutely.
and just get a look at him? Like, I just think like throwing him out there in game. This is literally the most important playoff series in the history of this franchise, and you're going to take this kid and throw him out there. And hey, listen, and maybe he's the type of kid that'll thrive in that type of environment. I personally don't think that's fair to him. So I think the rush with the cap gymnastics is, let's get a look at this kid and see if he can hang. And if he can hang, then yes, he will.
How are you going to learn that in 3 games? Like, that is so dumb.
Well, okay, so if you're behind the bench, what are you looking for?
Nothing. You're not looking for anything. It's just you look at your organizational depth chart. You go, how much do we give a shit about Zach Aston Reese? How much do we give a shit about Matthew Knies? Oh, yeah, we give way more of a shit about Matthew Knies. So obviously we're going to play a guy we care way more about in our franchise than some guy who's a fourth line plug for the rest of his career. That's it. That's all. That's the math. You're not going to learn anything in 3 games. You're not.
I think it's probably easier to get him in these final 3 games, though, because, like I said, you could take any one of those bottom 6 out of the lineup, like a Noel Acciari, and go, you've been nursing an injury. Take a few games off. We need you 100% for game 1. You slide Knies in there, and you're like, let's see what the kid can do. And then if he looks good and he hangs and you want to start him in game 1, that's when the real tough decision comes into play.
Yeah, I think as long as if this guy has the ability to be in the lineup, he will be in the lineup, and somebody else is coming out. I guarantee it. Yeah, 100%. That's all anyone's been talking about for 3 months. So why go back on it now? Because he doesn't look good in 3 meaningless regular season games? That makes no sense.
Okay, so would you put him out there for game 1, but then you got like a really short leash on him?
Yeah, but he can't, like, how bad can he suck? Like, he can replace Noel Acciari. Like, I know everybody loves Noel Acciari, but the guy really does nothing at the end of the day. Like,
he brings a physical. Hey, Ryan,
I haven't seen him.
Ryan,
like,
you, I will not. You and I don't disagree very much on this show. I will not stand here and let you besmirch Noel Acciari. I love Noel Acciari.
Yeah.
He's there for his physical presence. He's the guy that you're going to throw out there against Maroon and Perry.
I know, but like,
and I only used him as an example in the final 3 games because give the guy some nights off. He's clearly banged up, so give him some nights off.
Well, like for Zach Aston-Reese, the guy, he's a 10-goal scorer. He's a 4th liner. For most of the year, he's been useless. Like, for the most part, I don't really know what what he does well. Like, he does throw the body sometimes. He has chipped in lately, but like, if Matthew Knies is this highly touted, like, we've seen prospects come in for other teams and inject themselves in a playoff series and play well because the expectation is low. And as much as the expectation is going to be high for him to be good, I think going into the most important playoff series in franchise history, it's not going to be that high. Like, anything you get from him is gravy. So it's just, if this guy has the ability to be in the lineup, somebody else is coming out and he's going in. No matter where he plays, 3rd line, 4th line, 1st line, power play, penalty kill, in the net, I don't care.
Well, and I've said, I'm sitting here talking about, is it too much pressure to put on the kid? But I've also been an advocate for, ignorance is bliss in these types of situations where it's like, if he just doesn't know any better, throw out there. And like I said a few weeks ago, just sit him down and go, listen, there is no pressure on you here. Go out there and play your game, and just don't worry about a thing. Worry about playing hockey the best of your ability.
Use your size, forecheck. I'm sure he has skill. I've seen it. You've seen the highlights. He can score. He can pass. He can forecheck. He's going to be fine.
A couple more items on the agenda today. Can we talk about our Thursday night in Boston?
Hated it.
Because that was a game that a lot of people, it was the usual case with this fan base. There's half the fan base that says, playoff style environment, Bruins taking away time and space, and the Stars aren't able to produce. They're not able to get to the net. They're pushing guys out of taking away the middle of the ice. And then there was the other half of the fan base that said, relax. It's Thursday. It's a Thursday night at the end of the season. Both of these teams have clinched playoff berths. So I'm kind of split down the middle a little bit on it, because on the one hand, it's like, yes, I get it. It's like one of the final games of the season. Everyone's trying to stay healthy. I totally understand that. I thought they played well for the most part. Like, I thought that they played really well. They hung in there with them. But I will say, I understand people who are a bit concerned about Stars not being able to get to the middle of the ice and not being able to score a big goal towards the end there.
I was very upset at the end of that game, and this is a human thing for me. I get that it's the end of the year and the game means nothing. I get it. But what people don't understand about me being mad is I'm not mad because, I'm only pissed off because I am a Leaf fan deep down in the bottom of my soul, the bottom of my heart. I love this franchise. I love everything about them. I will ride or die with the Leafs for the rest of my life. How can you be a human being and not be sick and tired of just being embarrassed in games like that? It's it's not even anything to do with Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner. Like, I don't even care about that. It's just, aren't you just sick of them going into that building and playing really well but somehow finding a way to blow it and then losing? And like, we're a laughing stock. Like, that's what I hate. I hate it as a Leaf fan. Like, I'm just sick of they should have won that game 1-0. They played well that entire game, but once again, a Leaf team has to go in and blow a lead and then end up losing it in the end. And that just pisses me off as a human being, because I love this franchise and I'm sick of being that team that goes in and just blows a lead in Boston again. It just pisses me off. Yeah, exactly. Like, throw all the stats in my face. I don't care. That's just my human being, real emotional take.
Yeah, and
I'm just tired of being like, it was just like, I got over it pretty quickly, but that's why I was angry, because I'm just tired of, like, I want them to win that game 1-0 because I love the Leafs and I want to put the middle finger on every Bruins fan.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, and it's like we're right on the cusp of the postseason, and everybody's kind of like, you know what? Like, I've had a few moments where I've sat back in the last week in particular and gone, holy shit, man. Like, here we go again. Like, before you know it, we'll be sitting down and it's game one, and but
I want to roll this human being take into the Jett Alexander running up the score conversation.
Okay, so here, before you do it, let me tee that up. So, the Leafs kicked the crap out of the Montreal Canadiens Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. The Canadiens, for all intents and purposes, dressed an AHL roster. They're fully in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. And towards the end of the game, Sheldon Keefe, we mentioned Jett Alexander. I never get tired of saying the name Jett Alexander. We mentioned Jett Alexander earlier as the EBUG with about 70 seconds left in the game. Apparently, word came down from upstairs to Sheldon Keefe. It wasn't Keefe's decision. It came from upstairs to put Jett Alexander into the game. And then later on Twitter, all these really old hockey scribes who have nothing better to do and who are trying to stay relevant, quite frankly, took to their Twitter accounts to complain about the Leafs running up the score, which is like, what is this minor novice house league? Is that what we're playing here? And then putting Jett Alexander in to rub it into the Montreal Canadiens' face that they were wiping the floor with them. Then after the game, Chris Weidman of the Montreal Canadiens says that team will get what they deserve in a couple weeks.
Here's another human being take. For all these old scribes who didn't like this and called it running up the score, since you're so old and you've been around for so long, you should know that franchise has been kicking our ass for decades. And they eliminated us from the playoffs a couple years ago, the most embarrassing first-round loss in the history of the franchise. They like, all regular season, they go in there, they struggle. When you're playing the Montreal Canadiens, you run up the score. You win 20-0. You do everything you can to embarrass that franchise. And all those old people who've been around for so long, who've seen the Leafs get their ass kicked by that franchise for so long, should know that's an awful take. You embarrass the Montreal Canadiens as much as you want to.
And it's so if you look at the writers that are tweeting this, it's so anti-Leaf bias. If any other team did this, all these same guys would be sitting here going, wow, what an incredible gesture to let the young guy come in and finish the game out. But because it's the Leafs, and because all of you are trying to stay relevant, you take to your Twitter account and you spout off about classless. That's my favorite. Classless. It's
Shut up.
These are professional. This is not minor novice house league. Also, did you look at the Montreal Canadiens roster on Saturday night? They are full on in tank for Bedard. Are we going to talk about them being classless? Are we going to talk about a team that's purposely going out of their way to lose? Is that because if all you old scribes, you apparently hate that too, but we're not going to mention that. We're going to talk about how classless it is to let Jett Alexander from U of T play 70 seconds of a hockey game that is completely out of reach. It's absurd.
Loved it.
It's absurd. Ridiculous take.
Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Let's move on.
You want to talk about Eric Gustafsson?
I gotta calm down a little bit after those last.
Yeah, that was. If you can tell, that was like a pro wrestling style promo that you just cut.
That. I just wanted to get my Leaf fandom across, and sometimes we're not always trying to be the smartest guy in the room. We're just emotional fans that want to see our team stop getting embarrassed by these certain franchises.
Well, it's also a way to push back. Like, we get a lot of people commenting on our videos and on our TikToks and about how we're negative, and it's like, no, we're not. We're realistic. Like look, we've got literally a shrine to this team here. Our podcast is called the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. It's like, sorry, like, if you're coming here and you just want to listen to two guys sitting here being like waving pom-poms and cheering, you've come to the wrong show. But we don't hide the fact that we are full-blown Toronto Maple Leaf diehards. We're also not idiots. Well,
it's just sometimes you come on, you have bad takes or whatever.
Idiots, yeah.
And this next take is really going to hurt me deep down inside because I'm also a diehard fan of Morgan Rielly. I always have been. I love him like beyond. Like I've always been his biggest fan. But Eric Gustafsson gets 3 points against, again, a brutal Montreal team or whatever. But it was nice to see him get back in the lineup. And I just, even though like they do have a top-rated power play, but I seeing Gustafsson out there on the power play, it does make me think that maybe you want to throw him out there in an important game to see what happens. And I know if you look at the D, like Gustafsson's kind of out. Like he's not really in because you have Luke Schenn in there for that physical element. But I could also make the argument that having someone out there who could potentially help your power play score a big goal in a big game is more important than somebody clearing out the front of your net sometimes. And sometimes, if he sucks on the power play, then like, yeah, I love Luke Schenn and they're clearing out the front of the net. But Morgan Rielly is just sometimes on the power play, I think he takes a little too long to make decisions. And sometimes I wouldn't mind seeing another look out there, just like they did with Nylander. Nylander was gone. O'Reilly was out there.
I wanted to get to Ryan O'Reilly, but finish your point about
it's just. I mean, at the end of the day, they have a top-rated power play. If you want to say no, we're going to keep Rielly out there because look how successful we've been, then you do that. But I like how they took Nylander off. I like how they put O'Reilly out there, and I wouldn't mind seeing Eric Gustafsson, who's proven on Washington that he can be on the power play and contribute. That maybe he might be a better option out there at the top to make quicker decisions and shoot the puck a little bit more.
Hit the net.
Yeah.
Hit the net. All right. I'm going to do my best job here of stating the obvious. Man, I love the look of this team when Ryan O'Reilly is out there. He just brings a whole other element and feel to the team when he's out there. If there's one main thing that's making me feel supremely confident heading into this first round series against the Lightning, it's the inclusion of a Ryan O'Reilly and what that does to their top six. What do you think of the second line they're currently deploying right now of O'Reilly in the middle with Tavares and Nylander on the wing?
I want it permanent. Yeah. I don't want Ryan O'Reilly on the third line. I don't. I get it. You want depth, but that one game he was playing center on the third line against the Bruins. He's out there with Kerfoot and
it's
who's in Achari. Like it's like at that point, it's.
I think he's more valuable in your lineup if he's up in the top six playing with the better guys.
John Tavares better.
Yes,
I think John Tavares looks better with Ryan O'Reilly on the ice because without Ryan O'Reilly on the ice, John Tavares hasn't been that good 5-on-5. Good power play guy, but it's just. I like Ryan O'Reilly on that line. He got, again, 3 assists against the Habs. Like, I'd keep him on that line. You can I like that Camp Lafferty Aston Reese line, even though we were talking about Knies replacing Aston Reese. But like that line looked good as like a line that can give you some energy or whatever. Like, I don't know if you need that shut down line. Like your top line should be better than their top line if they're going head to head. And I like Ryan O'Reilly on the second line.
Well, and we've talked about John Tavares a lot, and like he has struggled a bit 5-on-5, and I do think he's at the point in his career where moving him to the wing, taking away some of his responsibility when he's out there, and giving it to a Ryan O'Reilly is better for everyone involved. Like, I don't see the downside here. The idea, and also Sheldon Keefe has a track record of throwing everything into a blender. Who's to say, like, just because he starts the game with that second line does not mean O'Reilly won't be out there in a situation where they need to shut down Tampa's top guys. Like, that is fully going to happen. I'm not going to get married to, I think that, like, the combo that I think we need to hone in on the most is obviously Matthews and Marner, because they're the two best players, and Matthews clearly...
He could not be. He looked exposed with Yard. I know Yardcroak was dealing with an injury and eventually came out of the lineup, but he looked exposed with him and Bunting against Boston.
I think that first line of those three is something that, like, really keep an eye on in terms of Sheldon, what Sheldon is doing, and if he's moving them around. But if you go lines 2, 3, and 4, throw them all out there, throw out every combination, do what you need to do, especially when you're at home and you can get last change and get your matchups out there. Like, do whatever it is you got to do. Like, I'm not going to get too worried about it.
If you're looking to create opportunities, I put Ryan O'Reilly on that second line. If you're up and you're looking for more shutdown play, then maybe you consider putting him out there by himself with a couple other dudes who could skate. I don't know. Like, I just think he makes that second line better, obviously, because he's a great hockey player.
Do you feel better going in this year if you look at, like, the bottom 6 combinations? Like, if you look at the Lightning's bottom 6, it was Corey Perry, who this is playing the Leafs again in the first round, 3rd year in a row going up against Corey Perry. Got Pat Maroon, Cirelli, Killorn, like, Belmar. Like, if you look at the bottom 6 options for the Leafs now going up against that, how do you feel?
I don't know. I really like, there's some names that, like, Alex Killorn on the 3rd line. Like, if he's on the 3rd line, that's the best, like, bottom 6 player in the series. Like, I think, but I think they're pretty evenly matched. I do. I do. I think the Leafs might be deeper with Ryan O'Reilly added for sure, but, like, the top line is the top line. Like, that's a great top line. Like, Kucherov has 110 points. Braden Point has almost 50 goals. Stamkos is Stamkos. Like, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, they have to be better than those guys. Yeah. Like, they have to. And I think they're an evenly matched team.
Do you like, and so you like the matchup? So if you're just specifically matching up lines, you've got Nick Paul, Brandon Hagel, and Ross Colton as the Lightning second line against what we just talked about, O'Reilly, Tavares, and Nylander.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a big line match guy. Like, it's not my strong suit as someone who watches hockey. Like, I think you could have all the best laid plans going into a game, and then a couple shifts in, you'd be like, this sucks. I got to change this up. Like, if I was on the bench, that's what I would do. And I would have a quick trigger with the matchups. So
my theme today in this episode is stating the obvious, so I'd like to do so again. I think if you look at this series, it's really going to come down to Ilya Samsonov against Vasilevskiy. And I don't think anyone is sitting here saying that Samsonov needs to go out there and be as good as Vasilevskiy, but hold your team in it, which he's done all season, and they need him to do it again in the first round. And then you look at the top lines. Can the top line produce going out against Tampa's top line? And then you look at what we just talked about, the bottom 6. Can somebody score a big goal? Like you look at Nick Paul, who last year, like, is that something like can a Nolachari, can a Sam Lafferty, can a Kerfoot? Oh, for the love of God, Alex Kerfoot. Can an Aston Reese if he plays, a Knies, a Camp? Like, they went out and they got a guy like Sam Lafferty, and they moved out a Pierre Engvall because they believe that when you're in these kind of tight playoff games, and I know this is polarizing and not everyone agrees with this, but they believe when you're in these type games, having a guy who plays with a bit more edge and can get to the front of the net and finish a check like a Lafferty is more valuable than a Pierre Engvall.
At least with their roster last year, could have won that series. Like, that, as simple as that. So, is this roster better than last year? Like, yeah, I would say so. So they should be able to win again. I don't think Ilya Samsonov, unless he gets hurt, but I don't think he's going to suck. Like, he's going to give them a chance to win. Vasilevskiy scares me in Game 7, but he doesn't scare me Game 1 through 6. They can do it. They can beat this team. Like, we can go through all the matchups. We can go through all the players. Like, you look at the regular season, the Leafs have one less game played, but they basically have the same amount of wins. Like, it's just, these are two very good, evenly matched hockey teams. The Leafs can win this series. It's just, Are they gonna they just get in their own? Are they gonna just do what they always do and just lose again? Like, who knows? But they can beat this team. I know they can.
They need a bounce to go their way. They need someone to push through. They need someone to score a big goal. They need
a big power play goal in a big game. And they need a bottom six guy to score. And it's just, I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna find out.
Yep. How did your heart stop when Samsonov was laboring a little bit in the Montreal game?
Not like playoff stop. It stopped for Jett Alexander. I was like, this guy's probably shitting his pants right now.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, because I was like halfway through the first period. And what was the score then? It was only like 2-3-1.
Yeah, I think it was halfway through the second. But that kid was literally, and O'Reilly was like beside him on the bench, like being like, you're probably going in, man. And he needed a new pair of long johns after he saw Samsonov being laboring.
Can we just take a moment here on we talked about him a lot last year. We haven't really talked about him a lot this year because there just hasn't been a ton of reason to. But can we just take a moment here on the Talking Buds Leaf Show to just do a tip of the cap to Wayne Simmonds? This guy, he's been in and out of the lineup all year. He's been a Warrior. He's out practicing with them. He's gone down to the AHL at times. Every time he's out there, he's in the scrum sticking up for his teammates, and it's just I have nothing but respect for Wayne Simmonds and how he's conducted himself this year in this environment where he hasn't been a regular in the lineup. I tip my cap to him.
And he's undefeated throwing hands.
Yeah, he is.
He's knocked a couple of guys on his ass this year.
Would you potentially look at, I don't know, obviously the next question is who comes out. But
yeah.
Would you consider, I don't know. Are the Lightning a team that you really need that Wayne Simmonds factor? I could see potentially maybe Boston, but do you need Wayne Simmonds out there?
There's nobody who can drop the gloves on Tampa Bay that scares me. I'm sorry. Patrick Maroon does not scare me.
Well, and that's the thing about having, if it comes to that, you've got Achari who will drop the mitts. You got Shen who will drop the mitts. You've got, if you need
Boston,
it's there.
Man. Lafferty fought, what's this, Greer? Big Z's gone.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Achari he hasn't dropped the mitts yet, but if you look at his nose, you can clearly tell this guy's fought in the NHL. And then Luke Shen's always in somebody's face.
That thing's been straightened a few times in his day.
It's permanently needs straightening.
So we will be back this week if a development happens with Matthew Knies. If that doesn't end up happening, then I think we're going to lay back and we're going to let the playoffs start, let the season finish out here, and then we're going to be back for Game 1 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We will be doing post-game shows for every Toronto Maple Leafs playoff game. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below right now. Leave a little comment, leave a little review. This is the best time of year. Anyone who puts out Leaf content knows that. So anyone, bring it on. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and hopefully they can, just like the home gates, the Scotiabank home gates, want a second round. Podcasts want a second round
desperately.
So we can get some more people in the building for our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. So once again, if you haven't liked and subscribed, even if you're listening to the audio version, make sure you do so. We will have post-game shows after every Toronto Maple Leaf playoff game. We'll also, I think during these two, we'll take a look around at some of the other series as well. We're not obviously we're predominantly Leaf show, but we'll talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
Some of the other first round series.
Maybe.
All right, guys. Hit the like and subscribe.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We'll catch you guys next time.